Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special webinar series with Bob Bly. This series is focused on e-book writing success, and we have the master of e-book writing, among other skills, Bob Bly, leading us through the next 4 series. Today, we're going to talk about how to pick a niche for your e-book. And joining Bob on the call as a sort of co-host and general supporter of all our programs is our Executive Director, Katie Yackel. Welcome, Katie.
Hi, Denise. Hi, everybody. Hi, Bob.
Hey, how you doing?
And on the call we have a special guest, an AWI member, Scott Martin. We'll be talking to him briefly in a little while. But now, Bob, it is my pleasure to turn this over to you.
Thanks, Denise. So, hi, folks. Today we're going to talk about e-book writing and marketing, and particularly in today's session, which is the first of 4, how to pick your niche. Let me give you a little background before we dive into the topic. First of all, learning to pick a niche, what I'm going to share with you today, is easy. There is virtually nothing technical about it, nothing complicated. It's not sophisticated. It's 99% common sense. So the mechanics of selecting your niche, the topic area in which you are going to write and publish and sell ebooks, is easy. However, the negative of that is, though it's easy in theory, many people, just about everyone that I know actually, finds it hard in practice. They know what to do, but they have trouble determining and making a commitment to a niche or niches. And I will discuss later whether you can only have 1 niche or 3 niches or 5 or 15. The reason that people have trouble with this, it is the biggest decision you will make in your fledgling ebook publishing business, or if you publish other types of information products like videos, your fledgling information products business. Because although I do a lot of ebooks, I have other products in other formats, just as AWAI has. They have some things I don't, but for example, I have DVD sets that I sell and audio CDs. But the biggest decision you'll make in all of that information publishing, whether it's just ebooks or other media, is what your niche is. And the reason it's such a big decision is once you have picked a niche and been in it for a while, for a year or more, it then down the road is very difficult to switch because you've invested a lot in growing your niche business, and everything you've done has been to cater to that niche audience. So if you specialize in automotive repair and a year later you decide your passion really is raising African violets, you have a problem because none of your customers, or virtually none of your customers who had bought your automotive repair products, have expressed any interest in African violets, and your sales will be very thin to non-existent. So you want to make the decision and pick your niche carefully. When I got started, and I talked a little bit before we got started to a few of you, when I got started in book publishing, way before ebooks, I wrote traditional paper books for traditional publishers. And when I got started in the 1980s, publishers would take from an author like you, like me, any book, basically, that they found interesting, that they thought would make a good book. They didn't have niches, or most of them did not have niches. And even those that had niches, they were fairly broad niches. But today, we live in an age of highly specialized information with fragmented audiences that, thanks to, in large part, to the Internet and Google, are reachable online and some of them are reachable offline, but they're definitely reachable affordably online. So publishing is much more of a specialized business today, favoring specialized products on narrower topics. One problem that a lot of ebook writers or about to be ebook writers have is that they're smart, and like writers, they have lots of natural curiosity, and they are interested in a lot of things. That used to define the typical freelance writer. In the 70s and 80s, and I started writing in the late 70s, freelance writers, their big market was writing articles for print magazines. And writers would just propose articles to all sorts of magazines on every subject imaginable, and when they got a go-ahead from an editor, they would write the article. Today, people will tell me, oh, I'm excited about getting into ebooks. I want to write an ebook on insomnia, and I want to write another ebook because I don't sleep well. And I want to write another ebook on infertility because I had to have infertility treatments to get pregnant. And then I want to write one on making microbrews because my husband has a microbrew brewery set up in our attic, and that I think a lot of people would be interested in that. And the problem is, aside from these things being all in different niches, and I'll tell you why that's a problem in a couple of minutes, they start all these ebooks. And what happens typically is people will have 5 projects going at once, and because they have 5 projects going at once, they're writing 5 ebooks. Their research and writing time, which is limited, very finite, is divided among these 5 projects. And therefore, their progress on any one of them is 5 times slower. So months down the road, they have finished nothing. And if you have not completed your ebook, it makes you 0 money, no dollars. So the idea is, I tell people, don't multitask in ebook writing. Write your ebooks sequentially. And again, I will discourage you in a few minutes from writing on too many disparate topics and tell you to focus on a niche and show you why you should, and hopefully, or I hope, will convince you. But even regardless, when you do multiple ebooks, write them one after the other. Complete Project A and get it into the market and get it to start making money for you, then go on to Project B, then go on to Project C. I know that's very difficult for a lot of you because, again, you have wide-ranging interests and wide-ranging minds, but you will find it's better to do it that way for you as a writer. Again, I will tell you that they should all, not virtually all, but all your ebooks should be within the same niche area. I'll give you one example why. My niche is marketing, entrepreneurship, and writing. My target audience is copywriters, entrepreneurs, wannabe entrepreneurs, internet marketers, people of that ilk, of that nature. And I'll explain more about that a little later on. So one day I got the idea that I said, why don't I go on the web and pull off of government websites all the publications that give you tips as a consumer on buying and maintaining your automobile, and I can get those materials free because they're not copyrighted. They're in the public domain. And I took about 10 articles, and I gave them to my graphic designer, my ebook designer, and told her to put them in an ebook. And we did, and we titled it Cheap Car Tips and Tricks. And then we sent an email to my 65,000 subscribers offering them this ebook. We sold 3 copies. We also got a number of emails from people that essentially said, hey, I subscribe to your newsletter, to your list, for information on succeeding as a self-employed person or entrepreneur. You're not a car expert, Bob. I don't want car tips from you. Stop wasting my time, or I will unsubscribe. I will drop off from your list. So if you try to market a product to your audience that is completely off topic, I can virtually guarantee you it will not be successful as much as you think you would enjoy writing it and publishing it. One thing to keep in mind is once you pick a niche, you do not have to create all the ebooks on every subtopic in that niche to have an ongoing internet information marketing business. What I do is I create ebooks on the parts of the topic that I think I have expertise in, or that I know, or that I can hire. In my case, I do hire writers. I can hire a writer who knows it. But there are many other areas where I say, hey, I'm not an expert, and I'm not really interested in becoming an expert, so I will go online, Google that topic, and find an ebook on that topic published by someone else, and arrange to sell their ebook to my audience, to my website visitors, to my people who subscribe to my e-newsletter as their affiliate. Typically, if it's an ebook, most publishers give a commission to the affiliate of 40 to 50% of the gross sales, the price of the product. So keep in mind that even though you're going to pick a niche, you don't have to know everything in the world about your niche. You can know some of the things, and then you can identify others who know the areas you don't and sell their ebooks to your audience. Now, why do you need to have a niche? Well, one reason, as we said, is that simply if you try to sell topics like my cheap car tips and tricks to your list, that is, no, Denise, I got a note from Denise. No, I'm not forgetting to move the slides forward. I'm still on this is pre-slides, so don't worry, I got it under control. As I said, with cheap car tips and tricks, if you publish an ebook off topic, it won't sell. Another reason why you need to pick a niche is that it's very difficult to sell products that for whom or for which the audience is everyone, because it's very difficult to target everyone online. If everyone is the audience, for example, and you're doing pay-per-click ads with Google AdWords, what keywords do you buy? You need to narrow the niche, and we find that the narrower your niche, the more people, the more money, the narrower the topic of the ebook, the more money people will be willing to pay for it. And the people who would buy it will be easier to find online. So that said, now I will do as Denise asked, and I will move the slides forward. How do you define a niche? Well, there are a number of definitions. One of them, which was invented by Wally Bach, who is a consultant and speaker, Wally said, a niche is the intersection of a subject and an industry. So if you look at this diagram, customer service is a subject. And I actually wrote a book for Prentice Hall on customer service for the service businesses. I called it Keeping Clients Satisfied. And if you go on Amazon.com, you can buy it's out of print now, I think, but you can buy a nice hardcover very cheaply, Keeping Clients Satisfied. So I wrote a book on customer service. So customer service is a topic, but an industry, for example, looking in this diagram, is banking. So you put those together, and now you are producing ebooks on customer service for the banking industry. So that gives you a niche. And a good rule of thumb is that the narrower as we said, and more specialize your niche, the more in demand you and your information products will be, and the more you can charge for your writing, speaking, and other products and services. A broader definition of a niche is a specialized area of knowledge. That's probably the most universal definition, a specialized area of knowledge. And again, you can be broad, i.e. computer programming, or you can be very narrow, programming the IBM AS400 computer. And in today's market, we are finding that it's better if you have to decide whether to be too broad or too narrow, it's better to be narrow. And here's a tip. I'm not saying you have to do this, but if you pick an area that's a little difficult to understand for most people, or some people, or you pick an area that, let's say, for want of a better word, is a little technical, you have a better chance of owning that niche and becoming the guru in it, because most people shy away from anything that's technical. And a great example is, and one that I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, know, a great example is Perry Marshall. Perry, when he got into internet marketing, Perry, like me, is an engineer by education and experience. And so when he got into internet marketing, he said, and he looked around, he saw Google AdWords, and he said, doing that's a little more technical than some of the other internet marketing instruments, vehicles, media. And so he decided, I'm going to specialize in that. And sure enough, he had very little competition when he started. Now there's more. And he became known as the industry guru on Google AdWords. And I know that Boardroom, which is one of the premier direct marketing companies in the world, just paid him a huge amount of money to talk to the Boardroom staff for a day. And I assume it was on Google Ads and maybe Facebook Ads, which has become his second niche or second area of specialization. So here's an example of the intersection between a topic and an industry or a business. I published an ebook on internet marketing, which is how would I describe it? It is a subject, just like customer service is a subject. So I published an ebook on internet marketing, but there's so much out there in internet marketing. So I decided to publish it in a niche, and I made it internet marketing for writers. And the premise of the book is that if you have good writing skills, a lot of getting into internet marketing, and this is good news for you, those of you who are listening to this, by the way, but it's true. I found that if you have good writing skills, getting into internet marketing and being successful at it is easier, faster, and cheaper, because a lot of the tasks that are required to become successful in internet marketing, as described in this ebook, are writing related. You see that especially in information marketing, there's a huge amount of writing that goes on. Emails have to be written, online ads, e-newsletters, websites and landing pages, and ebooks and bonus reports, and blogs. So there's a lot of writing to be done, and writers have the advantages that they can do it without hiring other people to do it. So they have more control and faster turnaround and less cost. And so I created this specialized book that's selling well to my list called Internet Marketing for Writers, a writer's guide to writing and selling simple information online. So that's an example of a product in a niche that is the intersection of a subject and an industry, if you consider writing a profession or an industry. The slow way, and these slides are courtesy of Pam Foster, so I thank her in advance. These slides this slide shows you that the slow way to attract buyers is to be a generalist. Because if you look at this composite picture of a mass of people where they're barely distinguishable visibly, how do you find the person or the people in this crowd that are interested in what you are writing about? If you're a generalist, it's very difficult because you're competing with a million other generalists trying to write the same information and try to publish the same information. The faster way to attract buyers is to be a specialist, and that lets you narrow in on the part of the market, the segment of the market that is specifically interested in what you are teaching or what you are talking about or in what you have to say. Excuse me. Just got to take a sip. So the fastest way to reach a viable market of online buyers, people that will pay money for information, is to pick a niche. The advantages of being a niche industry ebook writer and publisher or information marketer is there's less competition. The more technical the subject is, and the narrower the subject is, the less competition. When you are highly specialized, buyers find you quickly because people who are ready to buy will Google a very specific description of what they want, and if your product fits that, they'll find you. You stand apart with value. People believe that specialists know more and have better solutions, better answers than generalists. I mean, if you wanted to hire a carpenter to build a deck in your backyard and you opened the yellow pages and you saw 4 quarter-page ads on the page and 3 of them said carpenter or general contractor and 1 of them said the deck specialist, who would you hire? You'd hire the deck specialist if the deck was what you wanted. When you are in a niche, you become not only a seller of information in that niche, you become a participant in that niche, and therefore your buyers, your readers, I call them subscribers, because one of your goals is to get them to opt into an e-list, to subscribe to a newsletter or other regular emails that you disseminate. Your subscribers see you as a true partner, a peer, and a colleague when you're in a niche. When you specialize, you get more sales, your conversion rates are higher, your click-through rates are higher, and you can charge higher prices. For example, a friend of mine who is a successful information marketer, Fred Gleek, publishes in a number of different niches, and he publishes generally information on the topic of how to get more customers. So he might say how to get more customers with your video services business for videographers. I think he does have a niche like that. And the product will be a guide to getting more business, and it'll be $29 or something like that. And he'll publish how to get more business for coaches, another niche of his. And the book will be $19 or $29. But he also has a niche called how to get more customers for your self-storage facility that is targeted only at owners of self-storage facilities, which is a narrow niche, and it's one that almost no one has picked, I guess either because it's obscure or maybe it's just not glamorous. It's kind of boring, or at least it's boring to me. And there, the same product, information product he sells, I think is $100 or $200. And he sells it because when someone who owns a self-storage facility goes online to find a book on marketing, they don't want a general book on marketing. They'd much rather have a book where the author is teaching marketing for the self-storage facility manager or owner, and they find Fred and no one else, and therefore they are willing to pay a higher price because the information is targeted toward them. So again, less competition, Buyers find you faster, you stand apart with value, you become part of your niche market, you get more sales, and you charge higher prices. So those are some of the advantages. Now, Fred is unusual in that you could say he has maybe 10 niches. Get more customers for coaches, get more customers for consultants, get more customers for professional speakers, get more customers for videographers and self-storage industry. I think he sees his niche as get more customers, and then he has submarkets within that. But how many niches should you have? Well, let's discuss this, because this is, I think, the major point of this presentation, or at least one of them, and it's really important. If you look at this slide, at the top is a big bag of money. Let this represent the very finite amount of money and time that you have that you can invest in your ebook writing and publishing career. If you have one niche, you can spend your entire bag of money on that niche. So if you decide you're going to sell ebooks on how to win at tennis or how to win at poker, you have all this money and all this time. You can produce more products. You can do more marketing to build your list faster. However, what about the person who decides, like I referred to earlier, that, oh, I want to do one book on African violets and one book on sushi making and one book on coin collecting and one book on restoring classic cars and one book on Taekwondo? They have, as you see below at the bottom of the slide, there are 5 niches. And they don't have any more money. They don't have any more time. So they have to split their limited time and money into 5 bags. Now they have so much less to devote to each niche. So in the, let's say in the Taekwondo niche, teach yourself Taekwondo, they have this little budget and this little amount of time, where their competitor, who is wholly devoted to that niche, has a big bag of money and a big bag of time and is going to outbid them on all the keywords and outmarket them in every other area, because again, more time and money to devote to that niche. So you see where it's better to have one niche rather than many niches, or fewer rather than many. Now, how many can you have? There is no hard and fast rule. But some of you may know Dan Poynter, or know him through his famous book, The Self-Publishing Manual. And Dan has said that he thinks the most niches that you can maintain are 3. And he did that. He started off self-publishing books on parachuting, skydiving, hang gliding, and other aerial sports, which is his hobby. And he became so expert at self-publishing these books that he opened another niche in teaching others how to self-publish books. And I don't mean ebooks, I mean traditional paperback books. Because of his parachuting books, he started to get calls from attorneys who wanted to hire him to testify as an expert witness in parachute liability cases. And he became very active in that, and then published a book and then multiple information products on how to make money as an expert witness. So we had 3 niches, parachuting, self-publishing, and expert witness. Recently, he started a 4th niche. He wrote and published a book on how to care for an older cat, because he's a cat person and his cat was getting older, but I don't know if he's pursued that fully as a 4th niche, or it was just a sort of a minor variation for, a minor new venture for him. So probably the answer is, if you have one niche, it makes the most sense. If you can't contain yourself to that, you have 3 niches at most. Probably 10 niches is way too many. Now, when you're trying to find your niche, the best way to do that is to do what we call a self-inventory. Look inside yourself, figure out Well, here are the questions. Ask yourself these questions. What do I like? What am I interested in? What am I good at? What do I have an aptitude for? What is my education? By that I mean not only your college education, but what classes have you taken? What do I know? Do you know Visual Basic? Do you know Spanish? What is my experience? What have I accomplished? Which of the above areas has the least competition? Which of the above areas pays the highest rates or will command the highest fees? Some of the niches that may arise out of this, though the niche that you do will arise out of answering these. But some of the niches that suggest themselves and that have been proven successful currently as well as in the past, making or saving money, that is a perennial, surefire favorite. Teach people how to make or save money. Teach people how to attain love or have more love or sex in their lives, or to have a better, happier relationship. Pets sells very well as an information marketing topic, and Pam Foster is an expert on pet marketing and an AWAI member, a very active member. Hobbies. Paris Lampropoulos, the great copywriter, once pointed out to me in a presentation I gave where I didn't list hobbies. He said, Bob, information products on hobbies sell very well, and that's true. Parenting is another big topic. Just as saving money is big, saving time. Can you help people save time? Weight loss is always large, no pun intended. Health and fitness sell well. Advice for entrepreneurs and small business owners. Business opportunity, a huge field. Business opportunity means how to find a business or career you can do as a self-employed person to make money if you don't already have one. Career advice sells well. Today's world, things that are green, that are environmentally friendly, tend to gain interest from consumers. And another area that sells very well is any advice on major consumer purchases, how to buy a home, how to buy a used car. These sell very well. One tool that can help you select your niche is the Google Keyword Tool. And here is the URL for it on this slide, googlekeywordtool.com. So you click on that, and it asks you to enter a keyword related to your topic that you think might want to be your niche. So I wanted to do it as a niche, tropical fish. I've always kept aquariums. I'm 55. I've had a fish tank, I think since I was 10 or 11 or 12. So it's over 40 years. And sometimes I've had a lot of tanks and big ones. So I've always been interested in this. So what I did is entered aquariums into the Google Keyword Tool when I clicked on that link we looked at, and it gave me a list of related keywords. And the first column says, is there a lot of competition for these keywords? That is, are a lot of other people trying to market to these keywords with Google pay-per-click ads? And it says either high, medium, or low. Then, in the next column, it shows you how many people are searching on that keyword term per month. And a large number indicates that there's enough traffic that this is a viable niche. And what's interesting is it also helps you select any keywords on which to buy traffic on Bing or Google. And if you look at the results, you go down the list, fish tanks gets 2.2 million searches on Google a month, which is very high. However, aquarium gets 11.7. So if you were going to buy a keyword for your advertising, aquarium is better than fish tanks. And you can't guess at which one will be right, or you can't guess and be sure, but you can use this simple keyword tool that will tell you based on today's traffic, googlekeywordtool.com. And you should play around with it and get to know it. And generally, if it's got at least 100,000 searches in a month, it's probably viable. But the larger the number, the better off you are. And the idea is to pick a large number, and if you're ideally would be a large number with medium or lower competition. If you had a smaller number with high competition, that means there aren't that many people looking, and there are a lot of marketers out there who want that traffic that you'll have to bid against. Here's more data taken from the Google Keywords tool. This person, one of my people I work with, is introducing information products in real estate. And they found when they looked at the estimated monthly search volume in Google on real estate, it was 101 million searches on real estate. So that is very high. When they did foreclosure, they were hoping that the niche would give them less competition, but they found that people are still, a lot of people are searching on foreclosure, so it means that's also a viable niche. So at this point, Denise, what I'd like to do is have you bring Scott aboard, and then we're going to talk to Scott Martin, a successful direct response copywriter, an ebook writer and publisher, and find out how he has used the niche strategy to help achieve his success.
Sure, Bob. Thank you. I will. Scott, I'll do a brief intro of you, but can you say hi? Just want to see how you sound.
Hi there, everyone.
Hi, Scott. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott is joining us on the call today. He is a direct response copywriter who has written ebooks and has picked a niche, and he and Bob are going to talk about that. His background includes being a Dan Kennedy certified copywriter for info marketers. He's studied with many of the mentors of the AWAI programs, including Bob Bly. He studied his books and Herschel Gordon Lewis and many of the major copywriters that we recommend. One of the things I did love, Scott, on your website in particular is where you talk about creating precise and creative execution of proven direct response copywriting techniques to make the reader take a credit card out of their wallet, write a check, or enthusiastically press that button. That's a very, very positive and persuasive argument for hiring you. Bob, I know you wanted to ask Scott some information about his niche.
So, Scott, I really appreciate you joining us today. It's very generous of you. Let's start off. You have one or two niches or three niches?
I would say that up until about 2 months ago, I had three niches. The first is writing for golf and writing to sell golf products. The second would be information marketing. And the third would be dietary supplements. And in the last year, I did a lot of work in dietary supplements, and I didn't enjoy it. And I may end up doing some work in that niche in the future, maybe. But it's a niche that I'm basically getting out of for a couple of reasons. I don't like the market. And secondly, I really want to continue to drill down and focus on these two niches that are really more complementary to my background, the golf and info marketing, because I've written a lot about golf. I enjoy the game. I know a lot about it. And then information marketing, because I've also been in niche magazine publishing and worked for a newspaper, and it's just, I've always written, was the school newspaper editor and so on and so forth. So you're right, as you said earlier, choosing a niche or a couple of niches is very, very difficult, and I would encourage people to follow what they like and then also move into niches where, how should I put this politely, people are generally above board. Let me just say that. So,
I think that's a good point to make. There are niches where there's a certain degree of flim-flammery, and it's better if you're, as I know our listeners are, an honest and ethical person, to stick with a niche where you can succeed as an honest and ethical person. Now, golf is a very clean niche, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a curious niche because there are only two factors to sell: distance and direction. And so most of the time, if you just follow the concept of here's how we're going to help you hit the ball further, you could sell just about anything.
Now, did you start off as an ebook writer in golf, or did you start off, as I think you told me, writing traditional paper books for traditional publishers in golf? How did you get started as a golf writer?
Writing books, then also writing magazine articles, and also advertorials.
Mm-hmm.
And then a guy who specializes in golf marketing asked me to start writing for him. This was about 10 years ago, and he said, you really need to write direct response copy. And so that's how I got started in direct response copywriting.
And now, as the author of golf books, you are, and I don't mean this in an insulting way, but you're not Tiger Woods, you're not Arnold Palmer. Do you have to be the world's champion or the world's top pro in your topic to get away with or to be able to publish and sell ebooks on it?
Absolutely not. I have attended many golf writers' golf tournaments, and I can assure you that golf writers are among the absolute worst golfers on the planet. So
That's
no,
funny.
you don't have to be, you have to understand the language of golf, because golf has its own peculiar language, and you can tell when somebody is writing in golf and they're not a golfer because they say crazy things.
So to be in this niche or any niche, you do have to know the subject. You think it would be a mistake for someone listening who is a non-golfer to go into golf, but you don't have to be, as I say, the Tiger Woods or the top golf pro, club pro in the world, you're saying?
No, but you have to understand the language of golf. You sort of have to understand the slang of golf as well. Plus, you have to understand how golfers think.
And the best way to do that is obviously, as you have done, is to be a participant in your market. Now, when you publish traditional books, did you turn them into ebooks and start selling them on Amazon in Kindle format? What did you do to make the transition to ebooks?
Right now, one of my books, which is a book about Caddyshack, is currently being sold as a traditional paperback And I'm really upset with the publisher because, like many traditional book publishers, they're very poor at marketing. They don't really understand direct response marketing especially. So I'm about to turn that book into an ebook and sell it myself after having changed it quite significantly from the published version.
What about your other books? Were they originally ebooks, or were they paper books that you're converting to ebooks?
They were paperback books. One of them is a guidebook to golf in North and South Carolina, and I'm about to take that content and little by little turn it into ebooks.
Yeah, and that's for people listening who are authors. One of my tips is when you sign a contract with a traditional book publisher to write a hardcover or paperback book, make sure there is a clause in the contract that says when the book is out of print, all rights revert to you as the author. Because when one of my books goes out of print, I instantly scan it. If I don't, I always scan it, because even if I have it as a Word document on my hard drive, there may have been changes made after I handed it in. I scan it, and then I will typically break it up into multiple ebooks. I had a book on public relations that was in print for many years, went out of print. It sold for $12. Every time once sold, I got 80 cents or 90 cents. And I turned it into 3 ebooks, priced at $29 each. So now every time I sell a copy, I get $87. Do you sell most of your golf books on Amazon or on your own websites? How do you get the orders?
I'm about to turn the Book of Caddyshack into an ebook, and I'm just going to sell it myself through a website that I'm creating. And then most of the traffic, I think, will be organic initially, because a lot of people search for various Caddyshack terms regularly.
And obviously you've checked that out. I would not have known that,
yes.
But when I saw you wrote a Caddyshack book, the first thing I thought was, that's a great idea. I never would have thought of that, because it is such a cult movie with a fan following. There, the people who just love it. Now, how did you, if you're a golf writer, how does that either complement or interfere with you writing on information marketing, which is your second niche?
It's really a completely different animal in terms of who's in it and the market. But it's a good overall niche, because obviously it's a huge market, and it's a market that requires a lot of copy. It also gives me the ability to sub-specialize within information marketing. And, I've done quite a bit in BizOp, and I've done quite a bit also in health, which is sort of related to the supplements thing.
Right.
So I'm going to have a big go in the next year in seeing if I can specialize in just golf, because the golf market is changing when it comes to marketing. And there's an increasing demand I'm seeing for writers who understand how to persuade people to take the next step. So golf companies that may have been doing a lot of branding type writing and needing branding type writers are now realizing they've got to get results from their advertising, which creates a demand for what I do, which is, direct response. We're all about results.
So since time is running short, what advice could you give in closing to our listeners for them about choosing their niche?
I think the slide you had earlier was good. You know, choose something that you really enjoy, and then the only other thing I would add is take a look at the people who are in that niche. Are they people that you like and would hang out with? And that's the one thing that I really enjoy about golf, is that by and large, people in the golf business are ethical, they're pleasant, they're easy to deal with, and it's a really good market to be in. And it's mostly true for the information marketing industry, although there are exceptions. But in the supplements, okay, go ahead. In supplements,
no, go ahead.
Those people there are a lot of lawyers flying about. Let's just say that.
What's interesting is that I met a guy who specializes in writing books on fishing, and he told me, he said, one of the reasons I like my niche is that you never meet someone who is a fisherman who isn't a nice person. They're all happy people. And I take his word for it. So you sort of have the same thing with golfers. Scott, I want to really, again, thank you for your time today. Your information has been very useful. And Denise,
thank you.
I want to turn it back over to you.
All right. Thank you, Bob. Yes, Scott, thanks for being with us very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we will take a few questions. You know, we can do this each week, or you can send them to me in advance, and I'll pass them on to Bob. But let's take a minute or two. If you have a question, please, if you know how to use the famous Q&A panel, go right ahead. Be sure you send it to all panelists so I can queue them up for Bob. Or if you want to chat, put them in chat, that's fine. If you have any questions for Bob or Scott, shoot me send it in chat or Q&A right now. And while we allow people to do that for a second, Bob, next week we're going to be talking about the selling process. Is that right?
What's this? I don't have the schedule in front of me. I know we're doing the selling process, and we're talking about building a list. Which one comes next week?
It says the selling process.
Yes, we're going to talk about, you've written an e-book, just like Scott or I have. You have it, the document. How do you actually get someone to buy it? That's the selling process.
Yes. And again, it will be at this same time, same station. Janet had a quick question. Bob, can you do a Kindle ebook and sell a PDF of the same book at the same time?
That's an interesting question, because I think what she's referring to is, would Kindle, or rather not Kindle, would Amazon have an objection to it? And I don't know their policy. I don't have it in front of me at this time. But you can check when you go on Amazon. You'll see a link to find out how to create and submit a Kindle ebook, and that should answer the question. I know a number of ebook authors who do that. I'm just not sure if it's 100% okay with Amazon, although I suspect it is. But to answer the question more broadly, I definitely know authors that sell ebooks in multiple formats, including a PDF and a Kindle.
Excellent. One other question before we jump, or two. Chris wants to know, she took a course where they were advised that articles written for a customer could not be reused by you individually. She's interested in e-newsletters and e-books and using info from the e-newsletter for e-books. Do you see any problem with that?
Unfortunately, I sure do. If you have written any copy of any kind for a copywriting client, as far as I'm concerned, although some will disagree with me, they own all the rights to it, and the only way to use the material would be with their express written permission.
Right. And one last thing before we go, just a comment from Dee. I was thrilled to hear you say choose one niche and choose it carefully. Don't choose with a plan to change every year. So
She's correct.
That's a compliment and a comment. And I thank you, Bob. I thank you all for joining us today. We'll see you next week. And take good care and keep working on the ebook series. It is a fabulous way to become, to create lucrative income for yourself and become a specialist with a very useful niche.
Thank you, Denise.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week. Bye-bye.